All right, so in here we're gonna continue to look at our fractions. So today, as you can see, we're gonna be talking about like fractions on a number line. Like, what does that look like? We've kind of talked about how to model them, right? And all this stuff will kind of spiral. We'll keep going back to it, so don't worry too much. But again, like if we were talking about like how to model a fraction, like say that's something I have like 2/6, right? That just means, all right, my denominator, right? The bottom number, that denominator, that tells me how many parts my whole is cut into. So that's a 6, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then my numerator tells me how many are shaded. So there's 2/6. So that's like if we model it. That's our modeling. Today we're going to talk about like how do we take something like 2/6 and show it on a number line. Okay, so that's kind of what we're diving into. So let's play around with that. We may revisit 2/6, but for now I'm gonna start maybe with 1/2. Let's like just start at the beginning, right? So here's our fraction. Now, if you remember this whole idea of like modeling, we had modeled this, right, as a rectangle. Well, when putting fractions on a number line, we're just gonna model it as a number line. And this model here, and this fraction here, or this model was always talking about the whole, right? All of it. And in this case, it's like one whole, right? We have one square, it's one whole. So when it comes to a number line, for now, and this will grow on this concept, but for now, our number line is going to be represented as the number 1. So that's all my number line is going to do. It's going to go between 0 and 1. And this might even bring some concepts about the idea of what fractions are, right? They're parts of something. It's part of a whole. So in this case, this is the number 1. Now, according to this fraction, our denominator says, well, this number 1, this number line of 1 is cut into 2 parts. So I'm just going to cut it right in the middle. And I want you to see where those parts are, right? Those parts are from here to here. There's one part. And then from here to here, there's 2 parts, right? So now, as you can see kind of above it, this is a lot like our model. It's almost looking like this piece here, right? We have this big long rectangle, but that's just to draw a parallel to it. Really what we're looking at is our number line here. It's cut into 2 parts. And then if we look at the numerator says, well, we want 1 out of 2. Well, that's what this is right here. It's 1 out of 2, right? Over here, this is 0 out of 2. It's the very beginning. This is 1 out of 2. And this very last one is 2 out of 2. And we'll talk about what that means with these being equivalent. That will all come up. But for now, you can see here is 1/2 on a number line. It like lives right here. 1/2. Okay. We'll get there. Don't worry. Let's try another one. Okay, so I'm actually just gonna start with my number line right away. I'm gonna draw that. And let's take a fraction. Let's say this time, let's take the fraction 3/4, okay, or 3 out of 4. So let's look at what we know, right? So we know that this is number line is between 0 and 1. So it's a really small world of numbers, really. It only goes up to 1. And again, these fractions are parts of that. So the denominator, right, our denominator, the bottom number, talks about the total parts that were cut into. So the number 1 in this case on the number line is going to be cut into 4 parts. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut it into 4 equal parts. And again, I want to show you where those parts are. You don't always do this when you draw your number line, but there's one part right there. Right, and then here's the second part. And these parts, I'm kind of counting these tick marks, right? And you can see that's where there's 4. If I count my tick marks, you only see 1, 2, 3 tick marks. Or if you count them all, you'd be like, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tick marks, and that gets confusing. That's why we want to talk about this idea of a part of it, the total parts. So it's cut into 4 parts. I could also, well, I'll do that on the other example. I won't over explain here. All right, so there's the 4 parts it's cut into, and then we're looking for the third part. Well, let's just label our parts. This is 0 out of 4 parts. This is 1 out of 4 parts. This is 2 out of 4 parts. This is 3 out of 4 parts. And this is 4 out of 4 parts. This is all of it. So if we say, okay, well, where is 3/4 on this number line? Like, where is 3/4 on this number line? Well, here's 3/4 right there. So we're going to put a little dot right on the tick mark. And that's how we show 3/4 on a number line. This is how fractions live on a number line. So of course, you know, we'll do more. Let's draw another number line. This is going to be between 0 and 1 for now. Again, our number lines can get bigger, and we'll show that stuff. I don't want you to think it's always between 0 and 1, but in the beginning, it's a good way to think about it. And let's do 3/3, okay? All right, so let's stop and think about what this fraction tells us, right? I always say, look at the denominator. It is your friend. Your denominator is your friend. So the denominator always is going to tell us how many parts we're cutting the whole into. And then this says 3. So I got to make 3 equal parts. And this can be hard on a number line, but there it is. And again, I'm going to show you those parts. You don't have to do this when you make their number line, but there's one part, right? It's between each tick mark. Here's the third part. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. I was trying so hard to avoid that. There we go. Okay. And so now let's kind of label those parts. So this one is 0 out of 3, right at the beginning. And this is 1 out of 3. And this is 2 out of 3. And this is 3 out of 3. This is all of it. So if we're looking for, the numerator tells us which one to look for. We want to look for the one that says 3 out of 3. Well, that would be right here, which is the same thing. 3 out of 3 is the same thing as this number 1 here. Okay, now let's do one more. Let's just do one more to play around with it. So how about 2/6, right? Okay, so 2/6. So we're going to draw our number line. We're going to go between 0 and 1. Now look at our denominator, because that tells us what we're going to partition this number line into. And it says 6. So I got to create 6 equal parts. So I'm going to make 3 parts, and I'm going to cut each one in half. And, you know, we do our best. As you can kind of see, like this part, it's a little bit bigger than this part, right? So maybe it's not the most equal. So let's try that again. Let's go back. And, you know, you're eyeballing this. You're doing the best you can. So it doesn't have to be precise, but it does help to, if it's really obvious, probably go back and try it again. All right. Yeah, okay, well, let's just go with it. So here's one part. Again, I'm showing you where the parts are, 2 parts. You do not have to do this when you draw your number lines. This is just me visualizing for you where these parts are. Again, you're counting between the tick marks. You aren't counting the tick marks themselves. Okay, so there's 6 parts here. Let's label those 6 parts. So this first one at 0, right? This tick mark 0, that's 0 out of 6. Here's 1 out of 6, 2 out of 6, 3 out of 6. 4 out of 6 and 5 out of 6, and then number 1 is 6 out of 6. That's all of it, and we're looking for 2/6. So let's find 2/6 on our number line. It's right here. We put our dot right there. There you have it. How we put numbers on, or fractions on number lines. Okay, so this is just a quick intro. Like I said, we're going to continue to spiral back to this stuff. So it's going to show up later as we work more with fractions. But for now, here's an introduction. And as always, thank you for your hard work. Thank you for being here. And we will see you so soon.